Blake Lively's Hollywood empire is crumbling faster than anyone could have imagined. What started as a bold lawsuit has backfired into one of the most humiliating courtroom disasters in recent celebrity history. For years, Blake carefully built her image as the golden girl of Hollywood, the perfect wife, the adored mother, and the charming actress with everything under control. But behind that carefully curated facade, the truth is spilling out, and it's uglier than anyone expected. Justin Baldoni, the man Blake thought she could bury with a massive lawsuit, just flipped the entire game on her. In a stunning 90 minutes of courtroom exchange, he obliterated her legal strategy, shredded her credibility, and left her high-powered attorneys scrambling for footing. Not 90 days, not 90 hours, just 90 minutes. And the case Blake thought would destroy Justin began collapsing like stale popcorn at a failed premiere. From the very beginning, Blake underestimated Justin. She assumed her Hollywood clout, her connections with the New York Times, and even her marriage to Ryan Reynolds would insulate her from accountability. She thought she could weaponize her influence to pressure Justin into folding. Instead, she opened the door to a counterattack that now threatens not only her career, but also her financial future. When she launched her $250 million harassment suit, she probably believed Justin would cave under the glare of bad press. What she didn't expect was a $400 million counter-lawsuit packed with evidence, text messages, emails, and behind-the-scenes footage that dismantles her entire story piece by piece. The courtroom atmosphere was brutal. Blake's legal team arrived ready to bully, pressure, and dazzle with celebrity status. But the judge wasn't having it. Every motion Blake's lawyers filed was instantly denied. One after another, their legal maneuvers were tossed into the trash. They tried to file a gag order to silence Justin and his attorney, Brian Friedman, hoping to control the narrative outside the courtroom. The judge flatly rejected it, leaving Justin's team free to expose every piece of evidence to the public. It was a total legal slaughter. Blake walked in thinking her fame guaranteed control. She walked out humiliated, powerless, and exposed. Even more devastating? Blake can't handpick who questions her. The judge ordered that she must sit down under oath and face Brian Friedman directly, a man known for his surgical takedowns in court. There will be no soft, PR-friendly questions. No carefully managed optics. Just raw interrogation and hard evidence. For someone who has built her brand on image, the prospect of being forced into unfiltered honesty is nothing short of a nightmare. And here's where the hypocrisy starts to burn. Blake's claims that she felt unsafe and uncomfortable around Justin fall apart under even the slightest scrutiny. The evidence shows her laughing, joking, and even texting Justin messages filled with gratitude and excitement about working with him. How do you square "I felt harassed" with text messages calling someone amazing to collaborate with? You don't! You get exposed. Add to that the leaked behind-the-scenes footage. Blake joking about Justin's nose, laughing with him, bantering freely. And suddenly the victim narrative looks like little more than a calculated ploy. But the hypocrisy runs deeper. Some of the very behaviors Blake is condemning, off-color jokes, playful remarks, are things she engaged in herself. The receipts don't lie. They show a woman who was not only complicit in the banter, but actively participating. And yet, she later twisted those same moments into allegations of harassment. That kind of duplicity doesn't just look bad. It annihilates credibility. Ryan Reynolds, meanwhile, is looking less like a protective husband and more like a partner dragged into the wreckage. He tried to leverage his charm and cultural cachet, spinning for Blake in the media, assuming his reputation as the witty, likable Deadpool actor would shield them both. Instead, he now looks like an accessory to one of the biggest PR implosions Hollywood has ever seen. Instead of saving Blake, Ryan's involvement has tethered him to her downfall. And Hollywood is watching. Once hailed as a feminist icon and industry darling, Blake's reputation is in free fall. The internet has turned against her, Hard Team Justin is trending, and her once loyal fan base is vanishing. When your narrative collapses under the weight of evidence, when your husband's charm can't spin away the damage, and when even the courts won't entertain your Hollywood privilege, the fall is swift, brutal, and permanent. This isn't just about a lawsuit anymore. It's about credibility. It's about whether someone who spent years building a brand on charm, relatability, and power can survive being exposed as manipulative, hypocritical, and reckless. Blake Lively didn't just lose motions in court. She lost her image. She lost her leverage. And she may soon lose her career. Justin Baldoni walked into that courtroom ready for a fight, and he left with the upper hand. Blake thought she was starting a battle she could control, But now it's Justin who holds the receipts, the narrative, and the sympathy of the public. If 90 minutes was all it took to shatter her legal strategy, imagine what discovery and trial will do. The walls are closing in, the spotlight is burning hotter, and Blake is running out of exits. Her Hollywood reign may be ending not with a triumphant role or a graceful exit, but with humiliation, exposure, and defeat. And when the final gavel falls, Blake Lively might not just be out of court. She might be out of Hollywood for good. Even Blake Lively's most loyal fans are turning against her. The truth is becoming impossible to ignore. She played the media, manipulated Hollywood, and tried to destroy an innocent man just to tighten her grip on power. For years, she thrived off her image as Hollywood's golden girl, protected by Ryan Reynolds, her dragon shielding her from accountability. But that shield is cracking, and now the courtroom has exposed everything. The arrogance is staggering. Blake thought she could lean on her A-list status, her PR machine, and her carefully crafted relationships with the media to crush Justin Baldoni. She assumed her reputation would bury him. Instead, Justin exposed the facade and revealed just how much of her success was built on manipulation. This isn't a simple celebrity feud anymore. It's a career-ending, reputation-destroying implosion. Worse, Blake herself lit the match. And now? She might end up paying for it, literally. She launched the lawsuit. She dragged Justin into the public arena. But now she's facing a counter-lawsuit so massive it could financially wipe her and Ryan out completely. Blake's net worth hovers around $50 million, while Ryan sits at about $350 million. Together, that's $400 million. Justin's defamation counterclaim? $400 million in damages. That means if she loses, she doesn't just face embarrassment, she risks financial annihilation. Imagine spending your life building a fortune only to watch it vanish in one courtroom battle you started yourself. Blake thought she could settle quietly, maybe make the problem disappear. But the judge just shut that down by merging the lawsuits into one massive case. There is no backdoor escape. No easy settlement. She is locked into this fight until the bitter end, and the end looks devastating. And Hollywood is watching. Studios hate risk. If Blake becomes the face of a $400 million defamation disaster, what studio would dare hire her again? Marvel? Warner Bros? Disney? Not a chance. A scandal is one thing, but a proven liar who drags productions into chaos? That's career poison? She's already hemorrhaging credibility. Next comes the work. So what does someone with no credibility and no legal ground do? They run to PR, and that's where Blake and Ryan made their biggest blunder yet. They showed up at Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary red carpet, smiling and laughing like nothing was wrong. They wanted the world to see them arm in arm with other A-listers, pretending they were untouchable. But instead of looking powerful, they looked desperate, completely out of touch. And Ryan? He made it worse. The man who should have been defending his wife instead turned her lawsuit into a punchline. Joking about a case that's supposedly about harassment? The internet shredded him for it. Fans flooded social media. Read the room. Cringe couple. This was funny until Ryan and Blake made it awkward. What was meant to be a PR masterstroke turned into a bloodbath. Even their strategy of running to the New York Times backfired. Blake wanted to control the narrative, to paint Justin as the villain before the courts could weigh in. But now that the evidence is rolling out, everyone sees it for what it was: manipulation. She tried to set the stage, but all she did was prove how desperate she was to destroy him. And then came the knockout punch: Justin's lawyer, Brian Friedman. He ripped Ryan Reynolds apart in the media, asking the question everyone's thinking. If Blake was truly a victim of harassment, why is her husband cracking jokes instead of standing by her? It made Ryan look complicit, careless, and cruel. And it made Blake look like a liar with no support. Instead of saving their image, Blake and Ryan made it worse. Hollywood noticed. The internet noticed. And now they're losing not just in the courtroom, but in the court of public opinion. Once the internet turns on you, there's no PR team in the world that can fix it. Blake Lively isn't just losing a lawsuit. She's losing her career, her credibility, and her future in Hollywood. And the irony? She brought this entire disaster on herself. Blake Lively once stood as Hollywood's golden girl, a symbol of effortless charm, wholesome beauty, and the picture-perfect celebrity marriage alongside Ryan Reynolds. But today, she's at the center of one of the ugliest legal and PR disasters the entertainment industry has seen in years. What started as a lawsuit meant to silence and bury Justin Baldoni has transformed into a massive counterstrike that now threatens to erase Blake's career. drain her bank account, and destroy her reputation permanently. And the truth is, she only has herself to blame. From the beginning, Blake miscalculated. She thought her fame, her connections, and the carefully curated image of being America's sweetheart would shield her from scrutiny. She believed the media would unquestioningly back her, that Ryan's endless charisma and Hollywood pull would tip the scales, and that Justin Baldoni would fold under the crushing weight of her $250 million harassment lawsuit. But instead of falling apart, Justin fought back harder than anyone anticipated. Within weeks, he had flipped the script, filing a staggering $400 million counter lawsuit armed with receipts, texts, emails, and even video footage that undercut every single claim Blake had made. This wasn't just a lawsuit anymore. It became a war, and Blake walked straight into the line of fire. What made this even worse was how quickly the cracks in her story began to show. TikTok detectives, YouTube legal analysts, and even casual fans started digging into her claims. They pulled up old interviews, behind-the-scenes clips, leaked messages, and public contradictions. And what they found was devastating. The version of events Blake sold to the press didn't match the version she herself lived. She described Justin as manipulative and intimidating, yet old messages showed her thanking him, laughing with him, and praising his collaboration. She described feeling silenced and harassed, yet footage captured her joking on set in ways that mirrored the very behavior she accused him of. The hypocrisy wasn't just obvious, it was undeniable. It didn't take long before hashtags like #CancelBlakeLively started trending. The carefully crafted PR machine she had spent years building was unraveling in real time, with fans, critics, and commentators all realizing they had been sold a false narrative. Even some of her most loyal supporters began to turn away, unwilling to defend a woman whose contradictions were now impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Justin's legal team, led by powerhouse attorney Brian Friedman, wasn't just poking holes in Blake's story. They were tearing it apart piece by piece. Every motion Blake's lawyers filed was denied. Every attempt she made to silence Justin through gag orders or narrative control was swatted down by the judge. In one brutal courtroom session, Friedman obliterated Blake's team so thoroughly that even seasoned analysts described it as a slaughter. The judge made it clear, Blake was not going to dictate the terms of this battle. The humiliation didn't stop there. Blake had to face the reality that she couldn't handpick a soft lawyer for her deposition. Instead, she would have to sit across from Friedman himself, the very man dedicated to dismantling her case, and answer every uncomfortable question under oath. No carefully polished PR lines, no scripted interviews, no curated image. Just the raw truth with receipts stacked against her. For Ryan Reynolds, things weren't looking much better. Initially, he seemed ready to back Blake unconditionally, leaning into his usual humor and charisma as a shield. But his attempts to spin the narrative through jokes quickly backfired. On the red carpet, on late-night TV, even on the stage of Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, Ryan cracked jokes about the lawsuit. But instead of charming audiences, he infuriated them. What kind of husband mocks a case where his wife claims to be a harassment victim? What kind of man turns a supposedly traumatic ordeal into a punchline? Fans weren't laughing. They were disgusted. The internet turned on him almost instantly, and the SNL appearance, which was supposed to be a power move, became a PR disaster. The comments flooded in, "Read the room. Get out, this isn't funny. It's pathetic." It was the worst-case scenario. Instead of protecting Blake, Ryan only managed to drag himself into the fire. His reputation as Hollywood's lovable everyman started to look hollow, and his billion-dollar business ventures like Mint Mobile and Aviation Gin were suddenly tied to scandal. Investors don't like instability, and a $400 million counter lawsuit threatened more than just his personal fortune. It put every company he touched under scrutiny. If Deadpool 3 becomes associated with a legal circus, Disney could decide he's more liability than asset. And then came Hollywood's silent judgment. Blake may have thought her famous friends would rally to her defense, but when the storm hit, they vanished. Scarlett Johansson, once photographed arm in arm with her, stayed silent. Taylor Swift, her supposed closest friend, didn't post a single supportive word. The rest of Blake's A-list circle, silent. No one wanted their names attached to a lawsuit this toxic. Hollywood may thrive on scandal, but it avoids proven liars like the plague. If Blake lost this case, studios would see her not as a bankable star, but as a financial and reputational risk. The whispers were already circulating. Marvel wouldn't touch her, Warner Brothers would steer clear, and directors would quietly cross her off casting lists. The parallels to Amber Heard became impossible to ignore. Like Amber, Blake overplayed her hand, thinking the court of public opinion would side with her just because of her status and narrative. But the public is smarter than she expected. They dissected her lies, fact-checked her claims, and sided with evidence. And when the evidence didn't support her, the backlash grew. The internet doesn't forgive hypocrisy, and Blake became its latest target. As for the legal consequences, they were dire. With the lawsuits merged into one massive case, Blake had no escape. There was no quiet settlement option left, no way to walk away without a fight. She was locked into a trial that could end with a judgment larger than her entire net worth. Blake's estimated fortune sat at $50 million, Ryan's at $350 million. Together, $400 million sounded manageable. But if Justin won, the damages would wipe them out completely. Their wealth wasn't sitting in cash. It was tied up in companies, investments, and partnerships. The ripple effect of losing this case would devastate their financial future. But perhaps the most devastating blow wasn't financial or even professional. It was reputational. Blake had built her career not just on her acting talent, but on her brand as a feminist icon, a voice of empowerment, a Hollywood role model. That image has now been shattered. Instead of inspiring fans, she is seen as manipulative, hypocritical, and dishonest. Instead of being admired, she is mocked. Instead of leading movements, she is compared to the very figures she once condemned. Justin Baldoni, meanwhile, is emerging not just as the winner of this legal battle, but as a symbol of resistance against Hollywood's power games. He's playing the long game, letting the evidence speak for itself, and with every court session, every leaked document, every contradiction exposed, he grows stronger while Blake collapses further. So where does this leave Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds? At the edge of total collapse. If Blake loses, and at this point it looks almost inevitable, she faces financial ruin, career exile, and public disgrace. Ryan risks losing his businesses, his Marvel role, and his reputation as Hollywood's untouchable funny man. Their marriage, once seen as the ideal Hollywood romance, now looks like a sinking ship, with fans openly speculating whether Ryan will eventually abandon Blake to save himself. And here's the harsh truth. There is no good ending for Blake. She can admit the truth, which would mean publicly confessing to lying, manipulating, and destroying her own credibility. Or she can keep fighting, dragging herself and Ryan down in flames. Either way, the Blake Lively the public once adored is gone. This isn't just a lawsuit anymore. This is her downfall, her implosion, her self-destruction played out on the biggest stage possible. Blake Lively isn't losing this fight. She's already lost it. The only question now is how catastrophic the ending will be.